We definitely have some creepy things to talk about in today's video, but first I do want to go ahead and talk about this.
And I hate to be the buzzkill of your morning show today with really some dire news, and that's why I asked to come on. The fact that Donald Trump has authorized the release of all UFO related material in possession of the United States government, or as I call it, the United States of America's cosmic um, Pandora's box, which this is going to be. And I just want to tell your viewers what I'll be talking about is very serious because I think the ontological shock that is going to happen with America and the world when we start seeing not JFK era fuzzy documents, but when we start seeing high resolution video of potentially a non-human intelligent craft and beings of whatever species that they may have on film being shown to the American, to the world, is going to cause a shock to our entire system, much to the like of 9/11. And I hate to be the downer today, but I really think it's important that from what I have learned for the past 7 years of falling down this rabbit hole, it's incumbent upon me to share it with your viewers.
So that was Jon Stewart, the former Illinois gubernatorial candidate, coming on the news saying that once Trump discloses these quote unquote aliens, there will be such a shock, it'll almost feel like 9/11. Like, why say that other than the fact that you are really hyping this up, no different than what we've been seeing in the news lately, even going back to the United Kingdom saying once these aliens are disclosed, it's going to cause a complete financial collapse. There is something so big they have planned for this stage alien agenda, Project Bluebeam, that once this is disclosed, they want us in complete panic mode. Like, what could be so big that they disclose that would cause not only the financial system to collapse, but also give us such a shock that we would feel like it's 9/11 again? What could it be? And also, it's not just this individual saying this, but supposedly there are those in the Pentagon fighting back the disclosure because of this supposed shock. Like, for example, this article from International Business Times, Trump faces Pentagon revolt as Demon fears stall UFO declassification bombshell. Continue to read the article. Trump orders release, but Pentagon urges caution. According to multiple insider claims, parts of the Pentagon are pushing back against full declassification amid fears that the phenomenon may have quote-unquote demonic or even quote-unquote interdimensional implications. And this, at the end of the day, is also all playing into this hype. You may be saying this is just the United States, but apparently this is a joint venture because the same United Kingdom that said that there would be a financial collapse back in 2023 also said demonic forces stopped official investigations into UFOs in the UK. And also, does anybody remember that story that came out in the beginning of 2024? This Las Vegas family that said that 10-foot tall aliens were in their backyard. Well, in the most recent update, when it comes to this family, the family now believes these aliens are something more demonic. And this would be the last time we heard from this family. So now we're living in a time where they want us to believe that aliens are no longer something from another planet, but something more spiritual, interdimensional, something that a lot of us have believed for quite some time now. But why is the government, news, and media now strongly hinting and pushing this when they didn't before? So I made this poll on my other channel, Minutes of Horror, today, asking you all the question, what major psyop do you all think the Gov will do with their final card, the alien agenda, they keep hyping up as causing a financial collapse and social upheaval upon the reveal? And I laid out 3 of the top theories, and a majority of you had chosen they will say quote-unquote aliens are among us, now pretending to be humans. Personally, me, I had chosen number 2, they will say quote-unquote aliens started religion and life on Earth. The reason why I had chosen that was because I believe they're going to go ahead and use the Jimmy Carter incident in their disclosure. What's funny is that I made this video on my other channel, Minutes of Horror, over 2 years ago, and it's titled, What Aliens and UFOs Actually Are May Scare You, and it goes into how they are spiritual, demons. One of the individuals I had spoken about in that video, of course, was Jimmy Carter, because when he was running for president, one of the promises he made was to disclose UFOs and aliens like we are seeing today. And of course, when he became president, that never happened. He said it was a national security issue. But what came out in reading this article here, it says President Carter's disturbing briefing on UFOs and religion, former NASA researcher Ed Harris, and given the fact we're talking about NASA here, we're definitely looking at a PSYOP, claimed that serious researchers on the subject believe the story of former President Jimmy Carter crying after being briefed about classified UFO information turned to be true. Apparently, this story was corroborated by multiple witnesses. United States presidents are only given a brief overview of the subject by the CIA, and presidential curiosity is not considered a sufficient need to know. But apparently, because Jimmy Carter was so adamant in releasing all this information to the public, apparently the CIA had the big talk with him. And supposedly, with Jimmy Carter being big into his faith, he's supposedly a really big Christian. Upon learning the truth about UFOs and aliens, he was completely inconsolable. Immediately, he broke down and cried, and supposedly was disturbed for weeks. They go on to say this explains why Carter never kept his promise of revealing classified UFO information to the public. And here's why I personally believe this Carter PSYOP will play into what we're seeing today. Because read this part right here. It says, what was he told and shown? He was told that the major religions, including Christianity, were programs created by extraterrestrials to prevent us from destroying ourselves while they run their experiments on us, and that they made us. At this moment, it became clear to Carter that such information could cause tremendous economic and social upheaval. This is paralleling to what we're seeing in the news today. And I think that's exactly what the so-called powers that be have planned when it comes to this declassification that they're hyping up would be like 9/11 and cause a financial collapse. They're going to release information saying that these aliens, that these beings that created religion and everything that you believed in was a lie. There will be people, like this article says right here, attributing this to demons, because people are going to say, no, these are not aliens. Only a demon would lie about such things. I truly think that this is the PSYOP that the so-called powers that be are going to play, because what would be revealed about these aliens that would be so shocking that it would cause just complete chaos and disturb and upset a lot of people. The only other thing I can see them doing that would cause a lot of chaos and panic is them saying they are disclosing this UFO and alien information now because they are fully aware of an alien invasion coming and they are trying to get the public prepared. They'll release photos of these supposed aliens, but they'll look more like your traditional demons, kind of like in the movie Childhood's End. This will cause people to take their monies out of the bank, stock up and save, and this could cause a real financial issue like what they've been hinting to. But to me, it's one of these two theories as to why they keep saying how there's going to be chaos and financial loss once they disclose aliens and UFOs. But if you have another theory, I definitely would love to hear it below. In any case, the powers that be definitely have a big PSYOP plan, a big event planned when it comes to UFOs and aliens. This has always been their final card. But moving on, this commercial eerily reminds me of something.
This ad actually has a lot of layers to it.
By 2030, almost 80% of people had lost their jobs.
They had no money, no purpose, but they had a lot of time on their hands.
The less people actually did physical work, the more they wanted to appear as if they did.
What if we could use the energy of humans to power the machines that took away their jobs?
Energem solved our need for energy and your need for purpose.
This really feels like that scene from The Matrix where Neo wakes up and it turns out all of humanity is just a battery for machines. They are all overweight and out of shape. Everybody who is not the owner, super fit because they are working for their energy. This also is a nod to the permanent underclass.
Now, he interestingly connects this to The Matrix, humans working for machines. Others say that this is like the Black Mirror episode, and it really is. But this commercial instantly reminded me of Patent 666 or 060606, where we see exactly just that. Humans using their energy to farm for crypto, where they attach humans to all these sensors and the processors detect human activity in the heat, and that allows them to farm cryptocurrency. Now, I don't know how convenient it is. You'll have others argue against this patent, saying this is not a genius way to get cryptocurrency, but at the end of the day, the patent is there. There's also this part where it says, researchers help digital currency users get more rewards for exercising. The whole cryptocurrency part as well could be smoke and mirrors to what they're really doing and what they're really researching when it comes to our body activity and data. But moving on. Now, I think most of us by now are very suspicious about what goes into McDonald's food, especially their burgers. McDonald's just released a new sandwich called the Big Arch, and the CEO decided to go on camera and take a bite out of it. But watch his reaction. I also caught something very interesting as the video plays out.
Chris K here with, you've heard about it, here it is, the Big Arch. This is something that we have tested already in Portugal, Germany, Canada. I love this product. It is so good. I'm going to do a tasting right now, but I'm going to eat this for my lunch, just so you know. So here we go. First, holy cow. God, that is a big burger. We've got a very unique kind of sesame poppy sort of bun on it. We've got 2 quarter-pound patties, a delicious Big Arch sauce, and of course some lettuce. So, oh, there's so much going on with this. First of all, let's try to get this thing, I don't even know how to attack it. Got so much to it. Oh, there's also some crispy onions on here as well. You see those kind of coming out. All right, the moment of truth. That is so good. That's a big bite for a Big Arch. It's distinctively McDonald's. Only McDonald's could do this type of burger, but it also is unlike anything else on our menu. It's a delicious product. You know, you've got sort of the cheeses and the gooiness, but those crispy onions as well gives a nice texture. And of course, we've got the pickles. So I'm going to enjoy the rest of my lunch, but Big Arch, try it when you can get it.
Now, as a lot of people had noticed, he didn't look like somebody that was enjoying taking that bite. It looked like he was a kid faking eating vegetables and saying how delicious they were. But if you noticed, he never swallowed it. They edited that out. He probably spit it out and then they edited it. Am I wrong? He never swallows it. And that was barely a bite for somebody supposedly excited for this new product and he's trying to sell it to others. That is very creepy and very telling that the CEO of McDonald's cannot be seen on camera swallowing the quote-unquote meat after taking a bite out of it. There was no reason to edit that part out. You swallow it and you say, that's good. That is wild. And think about all the people that are currently eating the Big Arch, because I do see a lot of reviews on it across social media, and yet not even the CEO is willing to swallow it because he knows what's really in there, and just putting it in his mouth skeeves him.
So it's one thing that McDonald's logo on many of them is billions and billions served, right? Billions of people, not so much. It's more billions of servings. So they did kind of word it weirdly. But where they weirded it wordly is when they say our secret ingredient is our people. They are never beating the allegations. They leave it up to the observer, the interpreter. Our people? What do you mean your secret ingredient is people? Oh, you mean your workers? Okay, that makes sense, but strangely worded. I'm just saying, apart from that, you won't see me eating here in a million years. So it's one
I came across something pretty weird. As I was going down the rabbit hole of human meat, I noticed that back in 2017, for whatever reason, there was an explosion of news articles from different news agencies trying to normalize eating humans. For example, this article from PBS, if you had to eat a human, which body part should you pick first? And then it goes on to say, with 650 muscles and 206 bones in an adult, there are more than enough options on the menu. Vice.com on June 2017, why you should skip the brain if you eat your friends. And oddly enough, they even compare human meat to that of a pig and say that both species are omnivores and eat similar diet. You see how they're trying to sell it? From SciTech.org, is it really bad to eat people? Eating other humans is an ultimate taboo, but is it really that bad? Is it unnatural? Not at all. From the Smithsonian on April 2017, new study fleshes out the nutritional value of human meat. The caloric value of the human body is surprisingly low compared to other prehistoric food options. Oh, and look at this one from Wired.com on October 2017. What's wrong with eating people? You could soon be dining on lab-grown celebrity canopies and lightly seasoned chunks of your loved one. And these articles were just a few of a plethora of articles out there back in 2017 convincing people to eat human. Then afterwards, all these TV shows, all these cooking shows tried to also normalize human meat.
This is my first human. I am so excited.
Now, in one of my most recent videos, I had spoken about how there was a company over in Arizona. They were selling body parts on the black market. The ringleader, he was arrested and he only received probation. Well, come to find out, doing more research, it wasn't just Phoenix, but other locations across the United States, they were doing the exact same thing, and with multiple companies. They were doing it in Chicago, Las Vegas, and it's kind of interesting mentioning Las Vegas because there was a recent news story that came out that hundreds of cremated remains were found in the desert, and they were trying to pin it on this funeral home. But take a look at this news clip, and I don't think anybody was charged for this.
Chicago as the feds launch a new raid.
And once again, hundreds of families will be left wondering if the bodies of loved ones have been bought and sold on the black market.
7 Action News investigator Jim Kirchner is here tonight with a story you'll see only on 7. Jim?
Stephen and Carolyn, this case started here, according to sources, when a man named Arthur Rathburn was shipping human body parts through Metro Airport. Get this, the box leaked blood. Those cargo haulers then called for help. Why were you stockpiling hundreds of human body parts here, sir? That's Art Rathburn. And remember his business 13 months ago? For 2 days, federal investigators dressed in hazmat suits removed body parts of 1,000 different people. Arms, legs, heads cut up and kept on ice, not embalmed, so they would be fresh for the black market. Today, the rundown warehouse on Detroit's east side is shuttered and up for sale. Sources say Rathburn's seized records led them to the Chicago area today, a business called Biological Resource Center in Rosemont. It's difficult to see from the outside, but sources say the hazmat suits and raid are underway on the 6th floor of this office building. The same paper trail led investigators to Biological Resource Center in Phoenix last January, and another raid removing body parts and corpses. There were also ties to similar businesses in Las Vegas. Since these dealt directly with the public, families were left without answers. Julie donated her husband Steve's body and was promised his cremated remains back in a month.
Confused and angry. We thought this was going to be doing some good. Yet it doesn't sound like it is.
What do you say to all those families who had no idea their loved ones were in here? Michigan pulled Art Rathburn's license last year after our reporting, even though they were told about his problems 2 years before.
You can go find out what the heck he is doing, and that wasn't done. Right?
Did we do something 2 years ago? No, we didn't. Are we doing an investigation now? Yes, we are.
Are you worried about going to prison? Now, no one has been charged by the feds yet. There are actually 2 locations involved in this raid going on right now in the Chicago area. The offices in Rosemont and the lab in another suburb where they have found body parts. But my sources say this case is winding down, and with this new evidence in Chicago, they can now finish this case after some 13 months.
This is so gruesome. Any idea how many families you're talking about here with loved ones that may be involved?
It's going to depend a lot on the records. It depends if they're talking hundreds or thousands, and with those records that they've seized, and are those records even up to date, or have they been doctored? That could be spelled out in an indictment once it's handed down.
You would not expect it necessarily to be accurate the way it's been handled so far. It could be.
Looking this up further, when it came to the Chicago operation, a father and son did get 2 years in prison. But like I said, when it came to the Arizona operation, a man only received probation. And we do know where most of these bodies ended up, but what happens to be very creepy as well is this website, Human Meat Project. This website is very detailed, and when they were called out, they said, "It's just art, bro." This video comes from Invisible Superhero.
Well, I come across a new rabbit hole called the Human Meat Project. This is a company or an organization that evidently looks for donations of human bodies to produce as human food for consumption. Let's get into it. So here is some of the literature from the Human Meat Project. It says, welcome to the Human Meat Project. We are the Human Meat Donation Program. By donating bodies for human consumption, we are taking action to solve overpopulation, which leads to climate change and greenhouse effects caused by the mass farming of livestock animals in order to feed the world. At Human Meat Project, we value every body and every life. Wow. Can you believe that? It says we emphasize on the source and origins of the human meat to deliver the diversity of our world and reveal the worrying differences of the quality of life across the globe. And the literature goes on to say that over time, the human population has increased rapidly across the globe, leading to a higher demand for food, especially meat products. With this increasing demand, land for residential areas have become more difficult to find, and emissions from farms have risen every year, making the lives we lead less sustainable. We believe that by donating bodies and organs, we can make a change by creating alternate meat consumption options while addressing the value of a person's body. Really? Let's look a little bit deeper and see exactly what they offer. And like a funeral home or cremation service, they even have different options for the donor. For instance, it says sometimes if a donor is fully committed to donating their body to society, we can give them an end date service. For an end date service, a donor can choose any date they want to be harvested. The date they want to be harvested? What does that even mean? Well, I think I know exactly what that means. Here is an example of one of their labels, per se, that explains exactly what they're selling individually and exactly who it comes from. For instance, you can see the label says human meat. The one at the top is actually a brain, and the ingredients are 100% human meat. The meat profile it gives, it shows the age of the donor, whether they're male or female, their race, the country they were born in, and their residential area. Also, as you can see, it even goes into body type. It says this brain was from an overweight body type, and the lifestyle was lightly active. I mean, look at how detailed this is. Shoulder meat. Ingredients, 100% human meat. Age, 28. Gender, female. Diet, low carb, keto. Body type, average. Race, Asian. Country, Indonesia. Residential area, suburban. Lifestyle, lightly active. This just blows my mind. Here is their documentation of the human meat nutrition facts. It goes on to say that one body can feed up to 40 people. An average adult male, 65 kilograms only meat. It says human meat often understated for its nutrition. Human meat protein and fat density could have the same or better than other convenient meat products like beef, chicken, and pork. As omnivores, human meat taste and texture is similar to pork, not to mention the quality could be more substantial depending on the quality of life ratings. And you remember me showing you on the actual label that they detail the quality of life. For instance, if they're active, where they live, if they're overweight. This whole thing is just baffling me.
In this next,
you heard of the headless men known as Blemmyes. These creatures were first mentioned by Herodotus in the book Histories written in 430 BC. Most of ancient history taught in Western academia is based on this literature. In this book, Herodotus speaks of a land in the western region of Libya. This land was inhabited by huge snakes, dog-headed men, wild men, and then men with their eyes and their mouth in their breast. The Blemmyes are also mentioned in the Indian epic Ramayana. The demon Kamada is depicted as one of these creatures. The Chinese god Qing Shen is described as having no head with his nipples as eyes and his belly button as a mouth. There are even paintings of Alexander the Great encountering these creatures with his army. In one of the stories, he captures 30 of them to show to the rest of the world. These creatures have been mentioned in Africa, Asia, and even South America, and are all described exactly the same. These creatures are either metaphorical or actually existed. If they did exist, they were most likely the result of genetic deformity. The third explanation is that they were an ancient genetic experiment. God sent the flood to wipe out giants as well as strange flesh. Maybe these creatures are what strange flesh refers to. Just imagine stumbling on one of these creatures.
Multiple cultures have drawn that they've seen things like this, so there has to be something to these things as being real. People anywhere from Africa to Rome to Greece to even Asia have stated they've encountered these blemmies.
The following clips are from a rabbit hole that I don't recommend following, and they were uploaded by someone that goes by the name Kenneth Hassler. Now, as of recording this, Kenneth has an active Instagram, but he first gained notoriety over on TikTok, where he was quickly banned, after many dubbed him to be a serial killer, hidden in plain sight. This is because he would often record himself dancing in his basement in a creepy mask, with songs like Goodbye Horses from Silence of the Lambs, and in some videos he showcases his girlfriend, which is just a sex doll. And there's a reason behind this, because he has an open dislike for women, and this just reinforces everyone's belief that he is indeed dangerous.
I could say 100%, every single negative aspect of my life, women are entirely to blame for.
Now, it should be noted that Kenneth claims that this persona that he puts on is just a bit, and that it all started due to how he was treated by women when he was younger. Because according to him, when he was younger, women constantly called him creepy, which led him to purchase the doll and create clips like this next one that reads, POV, I'm trying to mimic your screams in an attempt to become a more believable woman. Now these clips are just scratching the surface of Kenneth's digital footprint, because the majority of them I can't share here due to their graphic nature, but it gives you a look inside Kenneth's unhinged mental state. And whether or not Kenneth is just doing this for attention, it's very clear that his disdain for women is not normal or based in any sort of reality. And reading through his comments, he's well aware of people making videos about him, which only seems to embolden him. But as always, I want to know what you think. The following clips are
That video came from Real Horror Talk, and it really goes to show you never truly know who you're living next to. This actually reminds me of another individual that I had also shown on this channel. The video actually came from Oddities on Elm Street, this individual named Schoolboy 9.
In Arizona, USA on February 25th, and the OP that sent this in says, so I'm doing some camping in Arizona. While brushing my teeth tonight, I look up and these lights appeared over the mountains to the west. Are these meteors or satellites? Did I have an orb sighting, right? Listen, there's no sound, and I'll talk to you in a moment. So after increasing the exposure and the brightness, we can kind of see the ridge here above the mountains, and these are way above it as well. Now, they don't look like the flare shmooly type, where they kind of appear, gradually fall down, and then kind of illuminate the area and then disappear. These are flashing in and out instantaneously and kind of appearing all over the place in a random formation, which is a little bit weird, mate. So, I don't know. What do you guys think? You let me know down below.
That video came from the Interstellar discussion, and I always found the orange orbs to be pretty fascinating, and a part of me believes that they could be some kind of plasma or plasmoids. Arizona has always had some very interesting sightings.
A real ghost, and you can't convince me otherwise. This was at a wedding, and the groom was dancing with his mom. If you look at the crowd of people behind them, you'll see that there's somebody that doesn't exactly fit into all this. Right up here, A young woman is seen in the very back, standing up against the curtained wall, and she almost blends into it. She is so gray. Her eyes are solid black. She just looks really out of place in this whole scenario. It almost looks like her teeth are clenched as well. The reaction on her face doesn't look happy, if that makes sense. Some people believe that it could just be a loved one that passed away, watching their family enjoy this celebration, but other people believe there are more nefarious things going on here. That maybe this specter is some sort of demon. Maybe it's even attached to one of the people dancing. Whatever it is, like I said, it doesn't look too happy. What do you guys think about this? Let me know. And don't forget to like and follow for more.
That video came from Whoa That's Strange, and that is pretty terrifying. This video almost reminds me of that individual who was at a wedding with his wife, and on his shoulder was this demon dog looking entity, and they said there was no dogs at this venue. That scared him so much that he completely changed his life. He did a complete 180 because he was a very negative person. I was also looking at this over here. Are these also more eyes, or is this an optical illusion? What in the world is going on in this photo? But in any case, thank you so much for watching. If you like this channel and you want to see more, please subscribe. If you're already subscribed, please like, as any engagement does help the channel grow. Once again, thank you so much for your support.